Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back for another video. So in my last video I mentioned to you guys that I got a new rear tire for the Daytona. And let me go grab that for you guys. It is a Pirelli Diablo Rosso 3. I bought it offline. I got a pretty good deal on it. Got it for about 150 bucks, free shipping. So since I bought it online, I'm going to have to bring it to my dealer to install on the rim. Just because I don't have the equipment to mount a tire on the rim and balance it. And really I have two options. I can bring my whole motorcycle and the tire to my dealer, which that's kind of going to be hard. I don't know how I'm going to get my motorcycle and a tire there. Or the second option is I can take my rim off the motorcycle and bring my rim and the tire in the car. And so that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be showing you guys how to take off the rear wheel of a sport bike. Also, it's worth mentioning that if you bring your entire motorcycle and the tire to your dealer to have it done, they will charge you a lot more. In my case, I got quoted $75 if I brought the bike and the new tire, and if I just brought the rim and the new tire, it's only 25 bucks. So we're gonna save 50 bucks today. So before we get started, let's just briefly go over the three tools that you're gonna need to complete this project. The tool that's gonna really help you the most here is a rear bike stand. I'll be honest with you guys, you really can't do this if you don't have the ability to put your bike up on a stand. But stands are really nice to have. If you're going to do an oil change or anything like that, it's just super nice to have the bike on stand. So I would definitely recommend getting a set of stands if you don't have any. The other tools you're going to need are a torque wrench and a breaker bar. And whatever socket your rear axle nut is. Mine happens to be a 27mm or a 1 1/16 inch socket. Alright, so the first thing we're going to want to do is obviously put the bike up on its stand. And if you've never put your bike up on its stand with just one person, it can get a little tricky. I'll show you guys a couple tricks I usually do. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the bike balanced up just like this, and I'm going to hold on to it with, believe it or not, the rear seat here, just to make sure it doesn't fall over. That's the last thing you want to happen. So once your bike is balanced, we're just going to slip that stand under your lifters there. I just use bolts because it's good enough for me, and we're just going to slip it up. Just like that. Honestly, getting the bike up on the stand is pretty much the toughest part. The next step is just to take our axle nut off. This is usually torqued on to close to 80-90 foot-pounds, so you're definitely going to need a breaker bar for this part, and it's going to be tight. Just like that, our axle nut's off. There's a washer on here. Once you have your axle nut off, you're just going to want to slide something under the bottom of your tire, so there's not so much of a gap between it and the pavement. This step isn't really a must, but if you're just doing it by yourself, it's just kind of easier. You guys may be wondering how we're going to get our chain off. My plan is to just remove the axle and have the wheel drop down to my board here and then slip the chain off. The other way you could do it is loosen your axle adjustment bolts right here. There's one on each side, obviously, and slide your axle all the way forward. And then remove the chain, obviously. I don't really feel a need to do that this time around just because I kind of want to leave my my chain adjustment alone right now. But if you guys can't manage to do that, if your chain needs adjusting anyway, then you might as well just do it that way too. But like I said, I'm going to skip that step, and I'm just going to go ahead and take a rubber mallet or a hammer with a piece of wood on it and just tap the axle out the other side. This probably calls for rolling up the sleeves. And at this point, you can go around to the other side and just go ahead and twist it out. And now, like I said, once your axle is out, your wheel will just slide forward anyways. And now we can take our chain off. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and lay a cloth over this so I don't scratch up my frame. A paper towel will do. And at this point, your wheel should just pretty much slide right out. The only thing that might be holding it up is your brake caliper. So you might just have to wiggle that around a little bit. And there we go. I forgot to mention that most motorcycle wheels, well, pretty much all of them, will have two spacers on either side. Usually they're not interchangeable. Just make sure you don't lose your two spacers. But that was easy enough. I definitely think it's worth saving 50 bucks over. I'm going to be heading off to the shop now to get them to change my tire and balance the rim. And then I'll be right back and I'll show you guys how to put the tire back on the bike. Alright guys, so it is a new day, as you can probably tell, and I got my new tire mounted on the rim, so let's go ahead and install it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my axle out. I just had it there to keep my brake caliper from falling down. One thing that can be a pain is getting your brake rotor back in your caliper. You might need a screwdriver or something to depress your brake caliper piston just so you can get your rotor back in your caliper. There we go. And if you guys can't tell, I don't know if the camera can see this, but I do have that piece of wood under here, so it's allowing the tire just a little bit more room off the pavement so I can work easier. So now that we have our rotor in between our caliper, we make sure not to forget your spacers, so let's go ahead and put those in. Just like that. I had a little bit of trouble just fitting my spacer in between my brake caliper mount here and obviously the other side. Just had to wiggle it around a bit, used a little bit of grease. Now let's go ahead and just push our wheel forward a little bit just to get a little bit more room so we can put our chain on next. So now that our chain is on, pretty much the only thing left to do is slide in the axle and torque the bolt down. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright guys, so here we go. Let's slide in our axle. It's lined up pretty well for me. I'm going to go ahead and try to slip it in. And we got it. Now we just got to get it through the other side. So I'm going to just lift up on the wheel a little bit, give the axle a few taps, and it should go in. A couple more hammers. Woo! So now that our axle popped to the other side, let's just go ahead and put on our washer and axle nut. And we are just about done. And at this time, if you adjusted your axle adjusters, make sure that obviously your wheel is straight. If you did it how I did it, just make sure that your axle is all the way pushed up against your axle adjustment screw. So I'm just going to go ahead and push both sides up to it. Make sure that there's no gap in between that, that bolt head and your axle. That'll obviously just ensure that your axle is straight and therefore your wheel will be straight. This is when you're going to want to get your torque wrench out, and you're going to want to look up the spec for your specific bike. My axle nut is, I believe, torqued to 81 foot-pounds or 110 Newton meters. So we're going to go ahead and loosen it up and adjust it all the way up to just above 80 there. And let's go ahead and torque it down. And after it starts to tighten up a little bit, just make sure that it's adjusted again up against your axle adjustment nuts. Woo! Oh, there we go. 80 foot-pounds. And of course, just make sure it spins nice and freely after that. We're looking good. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you guys have any questions, you can definitely leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer them. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to give it a like below and subscribe. And I'll see you next Saturday.